Welcome back. Normally in this third half-hour segment, I have one victim, una víctima, with me. But today, no. In this one, no. I wanted to be alone with you because I want to go very carefully over certain vocabulary words, certain terms that probably you need, well, of course you need, but that probably you don't use. But nevertheless, let's start. Ha habido un ligero cambio en mis planes, un ligero cambio. Ha habido en mis planes. There has been a slight change in my plans, There has been, ha habido, un ligero cambio. There's been, puedo hacer la contracción, there has, por ejemplo, si yo digo hay un cambio, pues there is, eso es presente. There is a change. Hay varios cambios, there are several changes, plural, there is, there are. Eso es presente. There is, there are. Y en la pregunta, is there a change? Are there any? Añado any. Are there any changes? Y si fue ayer, ¿hubo algún cambio ayer? Was there a change? A change. Digo un cambio. En castellano probablemente diríais, ¿hubo algún cambio ayer en el plan? ¿Se hizo algún cambio? ¿Hubo algún cambio? ¿O había? Was there a change? No se dice any. No se dice any. Any va con plurales. Any changes. O va con singulares si dichos singulares son palabras abstractas o incontables. ¿Hubo harina en el suelo ayer? ¿O había harina en el suelo ayer? Was there any flour on the floor? ¿Había agua en el suelo aquí ayer? Was there any water? Porque estas son palabras que no puedes poner en plural. No dices harinas, no dices cuántas harinas, cuántas aguas. Aunque sí aquí en España a veces entre dos aguas. Pero en inglés no. Okay, so, ¿hubo algún cambio ayer? Was there a change yesterday? Plural, ¿hubo algunos cambios? ¿Hubo cambios? Were there any? Ahora sí inserto any porque es plural, cambios. Were there any changes yesterday? Now, hasta ahora esta semana, inclusive hasta ahora, incluido ahora, ¿ha habido algún cambio? Has there been? Has there been? Has there been? No is there, ni was there, ni are there. Porque remonto al principio de esta semana y traigo la pregunta hasta ahora inclusive. Y sigue vigente la pregunta, porque puede que haya un cambio en 10 minutos, pero quiero saber si desde que comenzó la semana ha habido algún cambio. Has there been? Has there been a change this week? Yes, there has. There has been a slight change this week. We have decided to use a computer, if you can see it. We've decided to use a computer in the class and a special tool that an orchestra conductor uses. So yes, there has been a slight change. There has been a slight change. Un nativo seguramente diría, there's been. Haciendo la contracción de there has, simplemente con una apóstrofe S, there's been a slight change. Un ligero cambio, un leve cambio. Slight. Quitas la S a slight y tienes light. Light es ligero físicamente. This pencil, this is a mechanical pencil. You say, I think, I can't remember what you call these things, all right? It's a mechanical pencil. Portaminas, I think. A mechanical pencil. It's very light. Aquí no hay S delante. Light. This is not so light. It's a bit heavy. Ahora, light es físicamente ligero. Le añades un S delante, es slight. Es ligero figurativamente. Tengo un ligero dolor de garganta. I have a slight sore throat. Tengo un ligero dolor de cabeza. I have a slight headache. I have a slight stomach ache. I have a slight, backache. It hurts a bit. I have a slight tennis elbow. We say codo de tenis. It's a problem I have with my elbow. And I have a slight case of arthritis in my fingers and in my joints. Las articulaciones. A slight. All right? So, ha habido un ligero cambio en mis planes. There has been a slight change in my plans. ¿Ha habido algún cambio de verdad? Has there really been a change? El algún en español cambia a un. ¿Ha habido un cambio en tus planes? En español diríais, probablemente ha habido algún cambio. Has realizado algún cambio. ¿Ha habido algún cambio? Has there been a change? Yes, there has been a slight change. De hecho, ha habido varios cambios. In fact, there have been. Fijaos, there have been. There. Siempre empieza con la palabra there. y luego conjugo el verbo to be, según el tiempo al cual me refiero. There have been several changes. There have been. En español seguís con con ha habido. Ha habido un cambio, ha habido varios cambios. La gente en Levante y Baleares, mucha gente ahí dicen han habido. Hubieron cambios, han habido varios cambios. Pues en castellano puro no, ha habido varios cambios. Pero en inglés, el inglés se asemeja mucho a la forma en que hablan en Levante. Han habido, porque pluralizamos. There has been a change. There have several changes. There have been several changes, yes, in our plans. En un principio yo pensaba hacerlo con ordenador, pero luego decidí hacerlo sin ordenador. Okay. En un principio. At first, or originally. Y prefiero originally en este caso. At first es al principio. Pero esa expresión en castellano, en un principio, que oigo mucho. En inglés es originally. Originally, my idea was to use a computer. But I decided to do it straight from my head, without the computer, basically without my book, to do it straight from my head. So, número uno, ha habido un ligero cambio en mis planes. There's been, con contracción, there's been a slight change in my plans. Number two, quiero ser esbelto como tú. Yeah, I want to be slim like you. Slim. There are many words for the person's figure. A person can be skinny. Skinny. Skin is piel. Skin. Añades una N de más y luego una Y y tienes flaco. Skinny. You're very skinny. You are skin and bones. Eres piel y huesos, se dice. You're very skinny. You need to put on some weight. You need to gain some weight. How much do you weigh? Talking to my friend. My friend is very, very skinny. Pablo, he's like this. He's very skinny. He needs to eat a little bit more. He needs to put on some weight. He needs to gain some weight. All right. The British usually say to put on. The Americans usually say to gain. Ganar peso. Engordar un poco. Now, engordar, of course, in Spanish, can have different interpretations. Una persona super flaca, pues necesita engordar. Y eso es to gain some weight or to put on some weight if the person is too skinny. Now, engordar is also to get fat. All right? Si sigues comiendo así, te vas a poner pero gordo, de verdad. You're going to get fat. Vas a engordar. To get fat. But let's go back. Okay, a person is skinny. It's not really very good. You can see the person's ribs. You can see his bones. A person's skinny. And that person needs to eat more to intake more calories, or to take in more calories, and to burn fewer calories in order to gain weight. If you want to gain weight, you need to take in, ingerir, take in more calories than you burn, okay? And then you start gaining weight. And if you're skinny, then you pass to be thin. Now, thin is delgado, but thin is a neutral word. It's not necessarily a positive word. It's not negative. If you say Pablo is thin, it really doesn't, it's not a compliment. No es un cumplido. All right, it's thin. Thin means es delgado. All right, maybe he needs to gain a few kilos, maybe. Thin also is fino. This is a thin book. This is a thick book. Thin is fino, grueso. Thin and thick. Thin is also poco espeso. If you're eating a puré de judías, a bean puree, and it was too much water, this is very thin. I don't like this. You need to thicken, espesar, to thicken the soup and make it thicker. Thick and thin. And the expression, through thick and thin. Yes, all right. I have become an English teacher, and I have improved my ability to teach through thick and thin. Contra viento y marea. Through thick, a través de lo espeso y lo no tan espeso. I don't know how to say thin in Spanish. Viscoso y no viscoso. I don't know how to say thin. If you say my soup or this puree, puré, is too thin, I don't remember how to say that in Spanish. Probably I would say es muy poco espeso. I would say it's not very thick. Not very thick. In Spanish, you use a lot the expression poco algo. All right, which is I like the expression. But in English, in this case, no, it's very thin. Now, through thick and thin, yes. Through thick and thin means contra viento y marea. There's one song by the Beatles. I don't remember the song, but there's one section of the song. Through thick and thin, I will always be your friend. Contra viento y marea, siempre seré tu amigo. Pase lo que pase. Through thick and thin. I think it's from the album Rubber Soul. Do you remember Rubber Soul? There were two albums. In the middle period of the Beatles, the early period everybody remembers, She Loves You, Yeah, 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 etc. And then the late period, Sgt. Pepper and Magical Mystery Tour, Abbey Road, that's the late period. In the middle, for me, were two or three of the best albums the Beatles ever made. For my gustos, para mis gustos, for my tastes. One was Rubber Soul, literalmente, alma de goma, porque soul, escrito soul, soul, tiene el mismo sonido fonético que suela de zapato y una suela de goma, Rubber Soul. Pero está escrito por los Beatles, soul, Rubber Soul. Y era una mezcla de un poco de música soul americana y la música típica de los Beatles. Rubber Soul, and then the second one was Revolver. Interesting name for an album, Revolver. And then the album Help, from the movie Help. Those three are my three favorite albums by the Beatles. And in one of them, I can't remember the name of the song, and I think it's on the Rubber Soul album. John Lennon and Paul McCartney are singing, and they say, through thick and thin, I will always be your friend. Okay, no, it's on Help. It's in the Help album, yes. For I have got another girl. It's called Another Girl, I think. Check. Another Girl by the Beatles. Look at the words. Se dicen the words, más que the lyrics. Se dicen las dos cosas. And you will see. Through thick and thin, I will always be your friend. Okay, quiero ser esbelto como tú. I want to be slim. Ahora slim. Slim. Slim sí que es un cumplido. Slim is a compliment. Everybody wants to be slim. That's the ideal of the human body. Beautiful, a nice figure, to be slim and attractive. Of course, we all want to be slim. And in order to be slim, there are two things you need. Genetically, you need help. If your parents, if your mother and your father are slim, la probabilidad que tú lo seas, the likelihood that you'll be slim is greater, much greater than if your parents are fat, overweight, obese, okay? So, and the second factor is diet, okay? Diet. And if you maintain a good diet in which you take in the same amount of calories that you burn, then probably you can stay slim. But some people have a genetic handicap, or they have genetic factors against them, and it's extraordinarily difficult for them to stay slim. And it requires constant vigilance, constant work, constant dieting, constant exercise, because they have inherited certain genes. They have inherited genes. Yeah, genes aquí no son vaqueros. Genes son genes, de lo genético. Genetic. They have inherited genetic coding, una codificación genética, that makes them naturally tend to gain weight, or to become overweight, or to get fat, or to become, estoy saltando de become a get. Ante la duda, become. To become obese, obeso. And then, because their parents or grandparents or the family in general has inherited these genes, these traits, características, rasgos. And so these people have to struggle and fight every day with diets, watching what they eat, watching their weight, okay, in order to stay slim, okay, to be slim. For me, it's easy to stay slim. My father was slim, and my mother was relatively slim. My mother was short. My mother was only about 1 meter 1.55, 1.54 m. And she had 3 children, and so she grew a bit in her hips, but she was a slim woman. Her question was just las caderas, her hips, because of childbirth. Okay? But to stay slim, and if you can't stay slim, or if you have inherited genes that mean that you will have trouble staying slim, then the likelihood that you will gain weight is very great, especially as you get older. As you get older, you start gaining weight, and it becomes more difficult to control this factor. Your metabolism se ralentiza, okay, slows down. Your metabolism. Fijaos, los ismos, communism, socialism, capitalism, fascism, mechanism, Stalinism, Leninism, Maoism, metabolism. Fijaos cómo termino cada palabra. Ism, como si se escribe ism, I-S-M. Así como en español decís capitalismo. Ahora quitamos la O y ahí lo tienes en inglés, capitalism. Sin embargo, cuando lo pronunciamos, es como si hubiera claramente una letra A entre la S y la M final. Ism, metabolism, capitalism, communism, mechanism, cannibalism, terrorism, etc. Okay, so your metabolism slows down. It doesn't speed up. No se acelera, se desacelera. It slows down as you get older, and then it's naturally more difficult. Also, your life becomes more sedentary. When kids are little children, or adolescents, even young adults often have a more active way of life, a more active style than when they get older. It's changing now because kids are spending too much time in front of computers playing video games or playing little hand video games, and they spend their time sitting. This was not true one generation or 2 generations ago. When I grew up, I imagine I burned 5,000 calories a day. I was always running, climbing trees, walking on the roofs of houses. I was always getting into trouble, hurting myself, falling down, riding my bicycle. I was burning calories. Now kids burn calories only in their thumbs, okay? And they're sitting all the time, so we have more what we call child obesity, obesidad infantil. And in my opinion, the problem is children are leading a more sedentary life. To lead, un verbo, dirigir, to lead. Ser líder is to be a leader, to lead. Dirigir los ejércitos, to lead the armies. Okay? Now, to lead también se usa mucho para... Pepe lleva una vida muy buena, una vida muy tranquila. He leads a very calm life. He leads a nice life. To lead. And children, nowadays, la A en medio, nowadays, no lo pronuncio yo. Nowadays, children lead a more sedentary life because they're sitting in front of computer screens or they're sitting in a chair playing with a handheld, sujeto en la mano, handheld computer game, all right, video game. So they're not outside running around, climbing trees, falling down, riding bicycles, okay, chasing dogs or whatever. And so the problem of obesity is starting every decade at a younger period, okay? Younger and younger. So it's more difficult for kids now to stay slim. It's more difficult for kids to stay slim. All right, so recapitulating, you can be skinny, eso estar flaquísimo. To be skinny, you can be thin, you can be slim, which is perfect, you can be a little overweight. Overweight es la forma, digamos, más política o discreta de decir gordo. You're a bit overweight. Macho, estás gordísimo. Come menos. Said, Pepe, you're a bit overweight. You need to cut down on your food intake. Cut down is reducir. To cut is cortar, pero cut down is reducir. You need to cut down on. Siempre añado on. Entonces tenemos dos preposiciones. Cut down on. You need to cut down on your intake. Intake is consumo. Lo que tomas para adentro. Okay, the intake. You need to cut down on the amount of food you eat, Pepe, because you're gaining a bit too much weight. And if Pepe continues eating too much and not getting enough, to get exercise, and not getting enough exercise, he'll continue getting fatter and fatter until he becomes grossly overweight. And when a person is grossly overweight, say he's obese, and that can affect your heart. That can make you more prone, más propenso, more prone to certain illnesses, diabetes. A lot of times when you become fat, when you get fat, when you are grossly overweight, becoming obese, you run a greater risk. Aquí se dice correr un riesgo, no tomar un riesgo. There's two expressions in English, to take a risk and to run a risk. Pero en este caso, cuando el riesgo es de verdad peligroso, we say to run. A nadie le gusta run risks. A muchos nos gusta, yo incluido, take risks. To take calculated risks. Una persona que no tiene aversión al riesgo es una persona a la que le gusta tomar ciertos riesgos. Se dice en inglés, to take risks. A risk taker, gracias a Dios que existen. Thank God, risk takers exist. Because if a person takes a financial or economic risk, often, if he or she is successful, that transforms into wealth. And that wealth is injected into the economic system of a country, circulates, and in general, the standard of living of the country in question goes up. Thanks to risk takers, okay? Los héroes de hoy en día. In the Middle Ages, the heroes were the caballeros, the armadura reluciente, the knights in shining armor. But today, for me, the heroes are the risk takers who take risks and generate wealth for themselves, of course. But at the same time, it's impossible to avoid the wealth not disseminating among other people who are involved and into the general financial system of a country. Those are risk takers, but they don't run risks, because to run a risk is always negative. It's always negative. Corre un riesgo. And a person who eats too much and becomes obese, becomes so overweight that it starts to be dangerous. That person runs a high risk of contracting diabetes, of suffering heart disease, which means having problems with his heart, arteriosclerosis and other problems. And in general, his quality of life, or her quality of life, falls. So that person needs to make a concerted effort, concerted, como concertado, pero concierto es contigo mismo, a concerted effort to cut down on his intake of calories and to make an effort to burn more calories through more activity, through more physical activity, either walking, jogging, running, or playing sports of different sorts, not video games, etc. And that person can slowly lose weight. It's not really difficult, but it takes fuerza de voluntad. It takes, es una forma inglesa muy corriente de hace falta, requiere, exige. Fuerza de voluntad, it takes willpower. Una sola palabra. Will, como voluntad, power, poder. Poder de voluntad, fuerza de voluntad, it takes willpower. But I don't think it takes so much willpower, but a bit, all right? To lose weight and to become slim, como la segunda frase. No hemos progresado mucho hoy, en esta sección. Quiero ser esbelto como tú. I want to be slim like you. And if you want to be slim like me, then take in the same number of calories that you burn, or if you're already a bit fat, take in fewer calories, plural, than you burn. And you will see that you will slowly, gradually lose weight and become slim. All right. I'll be back. Okay, in just a few minutes to continue. So don't go too far away. Okay, I want to see you back in 5 minutes. Thank you.